Most foods soften when you heat them. Popcorn does something far stranger. In a fraction of a second, a rock-hard seed turns itself inside out, jumps into the air, and becomes a white, crunchy foam. So what is really happening inside that tiny kernel? A popcorn kernel is not just ordinary corn. Its outer layer, called the hull, is unusually hard and almost airtight. Trapped inside are starch and a small amount of water. That water is the key. As the kernel heats up, the water begins turning into vapor. But the vapor cannot escape through the tough hull, so pressure starts building inside, like a miniature pressure cooker. At the same time, the heat and pressure soften the starch into a thick, flexible paste. By the time the kernel reaches roughly 180 degrees Celsius, the pressure inside can approach 10 bar, about 10 times normal atmospheric pressure. Eventually, the hull can no longer hold it. It ruptures, but the white part does not simply fall out. The sudden pressure drop makes the trapped water vapor expand violently. That expanding vapor pushes through the softened starch, filling it with tiny bubbles and forcing the kernel inside out. Within moments, the hot starch foam expands to many times the kernel's original size. Then the cooler air around it removes heat. The foam hardens almost instantly, creating the light, crisp structure we recognize as popcorn. And the kernel does something else. It jumps. High-speed footage shows that as the starch bursts out, it can form a temporary leg. That leg presses against the pan and launches the kernel into the air, almost like a tiny gymnast performing a flip. Now for the most surprising part, the sound. You might assume the famous pop is the shell cracking. Researchers synchronized high-speed video with sound recordings and found that the cracking itself is not the main source. The sound appears just after the hull opens, when pressurized water vapor is suddenly released. The rapid pressure change produces the sharp pop we hear. So why do some kernels never pop? Usually they cannot build or hold enough pressure. The hull may be cracked, or the kernel may contain too little, or the wrong amount of moisture. Without a sealed shell and enough water inside, there is no powerful steam expansion. That means popcorn is not simply corn getting bigger. It is a carefully timed chain reaction. Water becomes vapor, pressure cooks the starch, the hull fails, the vapor expands, and hot starch turns into solid foam. The next time a bowl of popcorn starts exploding in your kitchen, remember, every pop is a tiny pressure vessel transforming itself in milliseconds.